Have you ever looked perfection in the face? No, you haven't, unless you're familiar with the Lego birthday clown. And if you're anything like me, you love to blow things way out of proportion, and one day you end up with something like this. His name is Soapy Philday, and he's an ever-evolving, godlike being. A biblically accurate birthday clown, if you will. Anyway, I decided I was going to be him for Halloween. Not Soapy, nobody can capture the likeness of Soapy, but the Lego birthday clown. And boy did I make something. Here's what you're gonna need. A yard of yellow cotton, 2 yards of this teal-ish cotton, thread, special thread, which we'll talk about shortly, some lace trim, elastic, and fun buttons. Since these brick heads are Lego and therefore brick-shaped, there's a lot of room for interpretation. For the top, I had a vision, a sheared body with big, poofy sleeves. That's the vision. So I cut out 2 long rectangles 3/4 the size of my bust measurement, so then I have 2 rectangles that I'll sew together, making the total tube 1.5 times the size of my bust measurement, plus whatever seam allowance you so choose. The reason it's so big is because shearing will shrink it a lot, but it gives it a lot of elasticity. So, you know. For seam allowance, I always like to do 3/8 inch because that's close enough to the edge of the presser foot, and that's an easy marker. I had so little fabric, so I measured and remeasured 4 million times, and you can see my struggle here. And of course, since I chose shitty cotton, I had to serge all the edges every time I cut anything. And while we're talking about it, if you want this to look good, don't get shitty cotton. It wrinkles, and it frays, and it's cheap, and it looks cheap, but I don't have any money, so here we are. Also, with the way I planned to make this top, the cotton wrinkling was kind of the least of my concerns. Anyway, yeah, make a tube with your 2 rectangle pieces. Wow, look, a tube that functions like a tube? What? Then we fold in the edges, press them down, give them a quick hem, the usual. But because we're feeling fancy, we sew some lace trim onto the top edge. Massive shout out to my coworker who gave me a ton of trims, so now I have a ton of trims to choose from. And here's where I try shearing for the first time, which was a lot. First things first, you need elastic thread designed for shearing. I ordered this stuff on Amazon, which seems to work perfectly fine, but I was worried because the review said the colors were random and I needed yellow, but I guess I lucked out. Anyway, the top thread of the machine is still regular thread, but the bobbin thread is going to be the elastic. The bobbin has to be hand wound, and you shouldn't pull on it when you wind. It's a very loose thing. I went through a whole spool of this stuff and then a little bit of a second spool, so be prepared to wind this bobbin at least 1,000 times. Once everything was set and I did some test lines, 'twas time to shear, and oh boy did it take me forever. The first couple of lines were easy, and it was honestly kind of relaxing to just sew row after parallel row. But as I went and got more lines of elastic in and therefore caused the fabric to shrink, I noticed the fabric pulled in the direction I was sewing, and it made everything look crooked. To solve this, I pulled the fabric taut in both directions, which again, was quite easy for a few rows. And then it got incredibly difficult. You can see me near the end losing my will to live, but we persevere. On to the sleeves! In the spirit of making a Lego brickhead costume, and also because it was the only thing within arm's reach where I didn't have to get up, I used my other brickheads as paperweights. How perfect, right? Wrong. They're so lightweight, so that didn't work. Perchance something heavier should work, say Leo Tolstoy's War and Peace. You can also see how little fabric I had. Like, I'm surprised I pulled it off. But unfortunately, that will make me cockier in the future, as in it will make me overestimate my abilities to guesstimate how much fabric I need and underestimate how much fabric I need. Good thing the future isn't real. Same deal, serge and hem, but this time when we hem, we sew 2 lines with enough room to fit the elastic through. But before I actually slipped the elastic through, I trimmed the edge of the sleeve with that same trim. I attached the 2 sides to make another tube. Then ran 2 lines of basting stitch along the top edge of the sleeve so that I could gather it to fit my shoulder. I always like to do 2 lines of gathering in case one snaps because that also makes me lose my will to live. I realized it would be a lot easier to attach the sleeves to straps, but as you can see in the end, it doesn't look so good, so I'm probably going to workshop it, and I am completely open to suggestions. We trim the inside of the strap, attach it to the bodice, and then attach the sleeve to the whole thing. Here's me trying on a prototype of the costume with a 1-sleeved shirt and overalls in the style of the overalls I wanted to make. Once you try things on, it's over. You're done for the day. You've had your fun, you're tired, the end. But I was good and I actually finished the bodice. Is it fair to call it a bodice? I don't think it is because I think a bodice is like the top part of a dress, but you get the idea.
Ooh! Ah! Ooh!
Oh, the overalls. I needed them to look like those green overalls because I love those green overalls, so I figured I'd trace those green overalls. But tracing overalls is hard when you don't want to take those overalls apart because you don't want to put those overalls back together, almost definitely worse than they were before. So, I actually made a mock-up for them because I had so little fabric and so little time, and my methods were less than perfect. Mock-up looked good, so I transferred that to the actual fabric and then drew out the seam allowance. I'm sure sitting like this for prolonged periods of time is super healthy. You want to sew the crotch together on the front panels and the back panels, and then attach those front and back panels together via the outseam and the inseam. For the pocket, I did some quick measurements and drew it out. And here's the pocket, straps, belt loops, and belt, all of which of course are serged and hemmed and all of the above. For the buttonholes, I used the buttonhole setting on my machine. If you don't have that, I have no idea how to do it differently. Then we hand sew the buttons, do a bunch of top stitching in dark blue because we don't have teal thread, but also we kind of think the dark blue thread adds a nice decorative touch.
Ooh! Ah! Oh my goodness.
And that's all as far as sewing goes. I stole this birthday hat from work and painted it green. I put on my red rain boots, and I borrowed a clown nose for the top of my hat. And now I'm a birthday clown! Wow! Check it out! Super long but super fun project. Things I want to fix going forward. The top stitching doesn't look great up close. It looks kind of crooked and a bit amateurish, for lack of a better word. I also don't like the straps on the shirt. I think they look weird against the texture of the sheared bodice and the poofiness of the sleeves, and I actually really like this shirt and would like to wear it outside of the birthday clown, so I will be workshopping it. I like this one a lot. Like, I had so much fun, and I like pushing myself to see what new sewing techniques I can tackle and also make myself super frustrated with. I hope I did the Lego birthday clown proud. I hope I did Soapy Philday proud, and I will see you next time.